Alright everyone, I am back reading another creepypasta, and today I will be reading, I'm pretty sure it's called Pokemon Lost Silver. Well, I've read through this halfway and I thought it was okay, so I guess, half of this I haven't read yet, so some parts will be just as a surprise to me than you. So I guess I should get started. Here we go. And you see, I'm a simple college student living alone in an apartment. I was very enthusiastic about the release of Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver in the States. I have purposely locked myself out of all media and the internet aside for school purposes. This means no 4chan, no V, no Bulbapedia, etc. As I was busy with the school year and being poor at the time, I wasn't able to buy Soul Silver at its launch date. After my school year ended, I ordered Soul Silver on Amazon. However, it would take a week for it to arrive. I've decided that during that time I would replay my Crystal version on my Game Boy Color. However, I realized that long ago my mom threw it away because I told her the save went dead, and I was very upset about it then. She threw it away. She threw away my Silver version, so all I have is my Game Boy Color. As such, I set out to GameStop and bought a used Silver version. It's the only Pokemon game left that they have for the Game Boy Color. $10, fairly cheap. I went home and started up for a nostalgia trip. I don't know how to pronounce that word, I'm sorry. However, where things started getting bizarre most likely the reason. Wait, let me start over. However, that's where things started getting bizarre, and most likely the reason why you're reading this. The Game Freak logo started up as normal, but it just froze there. I thought the cart was just errored or something, so I turned it off and on. The same thing happened. Tried pressing A and started over and over and all of the buttons. Eventually the logo vanished and there was a black screen for about 5 seconds. Suddenly, rather than going to the usual menu screen, I was already in the game in a previous saved file, which was odd. I was expecting all of these carts to be wiped by the poor battery. Either way, I wasn't complaining, as I would have chosen the continue option to see what the previous guy did anyways. First off, I checked his trainer information. His name was just ... He didn't have much originality there. I checked his profile and apparently he had 999.999 put into his game, with all 16 badges, 999.99.9 Pokédollars, and all 251 Pokemon in the Pokédex. Seeing as he apparently had Mew and Celebi logged on also, I'm guessing he either used a Game Genie or was a really hardcore player back then. I checked his Pokemon to see what badass team he has. To my surprise, I saw 5 unknowns and a 6th Pokemon named Hurry. I'm thinking that this must be some cruel joke by the person who played this game, but I decided to check the profiles of those Pokemon anyway. As expected, there were different letters of the unknown, all level 5. I was a bit shaky with my unknown alphabet at the time, but I identified the word spelled out to be leave. As for the next 6 Pokemon, it turned out to be a Cyndaquil. The Cyndaquil looked normal, but it was level 5, with only 1 HP left, with only 2 attacks, Leer and Flash. I don't know why they named him Hurry, but at the time I just disregarded it. The most eerie thing was that, despite my volume being at max, none of the Pokemon he had said their usual cries. Just pure silence. Having enough of the team, I closed it. I was parked at what appears to be a room beside Bellsprout Tower. However, for some reason there were no NPCs around. Even more eerie was that the pillar in the middle didn't move at all, as if it was just leaning on its side. There was no music at all, and there was no exit or ladder, or at least I thought there wasn't. I walked around for a few minutes, but I can't seem to find a way out. This was certainly not a room I've seen in the Bellsprout Tower before. I tried checking my items for an escape rope, but the bag was completely empty. There wasn't any wild Pokemon either. Finally, I managed to find a ladder, which turned out to be behind the pillar. The screen turned black and the music finally started playing. I had sudden chills as I recognized the melody. I heard the theme you hear when you listen to the radio at the Alpha Ruins where the Unknown are at. I immediately realized that it wasn't just a loading transition, but rather I was in a dark room and would need flash before I took care of that though. I immediately checked my Pokegear to change the radio to something more pleasant, but it turns out there was no radio card, or even a phone, nor time cards. There was my map card in which Gold, ... from earlier, and I will call him Gold from now on. Yeah, that was just like, I don't know, parentheses and stuff. Okay, there was only a map card in which Gold was just walking in the midst of black. I recalled that Cyndaquil has flash, so I turned off my Pokegear and made Cyndaquil use flash. I didn't see any message saying hurry has used flash or anything like that. The room just became lit, just like that, and I soon regretted it. The room was chilling blood red with linear gray path heading south. The ladder I used to go up or down was not there. I had no choice but to head south. The screen got darker every 20 steps I made, until I finally made it to the end, which appears to be a sign. I read the sign which said, "Turn back now." Music stopped and in a few seconds was replaced with not as creepy Poke Flute radio music. I was in another dark room, but I held my breath and I used flash again. Suddenly it said, "Hurry has fainted," which was odd since I recall there was no status condition like poison on him, and I clearly wasn't in a battle. I checked my Pokemon quickly, and suddenly he's no longer in my party. In fact, after a bit of investigating, none of my Pokemon are there, but instead all replaced with level 10 Unknown. I did the same thing as before and spelled out the Unknown. My then team of Unknown spelled, "He died." Either way, after that creepy change, the room was lit to reveal myself in a very small room. It appears to be only 4 squares big. The walls of the room were gray bricks, as if it was inside something that was hollowed out. Outside the room appears to be a bunch of graves, similar to the ones in Pokemon Red or Blue. I've walked around the small room and pressed A, but nothing happened. I've already concluded that this was clearly a hacked game, and some sadistic fuck sold it to GameStop. However, my curiosity kept me going. I checked the trainer profile of Gold again, only to find out that the sprite of Gold was missing his arms. He also seemed to appear a lot less smug, but rather seems more sad and empty in a way that I do not know how to describe. For some reason, it also now says he has 24 badges, which was clearly impossible. After a few minutes of aimless wandering, my character suddenly spun and did the escape rope spinning animation. Instead of flying through, my character spun downwards slowly, as if it's sinking. After that screen, the music stopped, and finally landing on the overworld sprite. Gold is colored different now. Instead of the usual red color he dons, he appears completely white now, including his skin, as he came straight from the colorless Game Boy games, placed into the colored background of a Game Boy Color. I checked his profile, and now, that's great grammar. While now is as white as his overworld sprite. He lost his legs and has what appears to be a bloody tears from his eyes. It also says he now has 32 badges, which starts to disturb me, as the change of number appears to represent something important. I also checked my Pokemon, which contains 5 unknowns and a level 100 Celebi without a nickname. The unknowns are this time level 15, spelling out dying. I checked the Celebi's profile. It was a shiny Celebi, except there's only half of the sprite. 1 leg, 1 arm, 1 eye, and only 1 attack. Parish song. The area I was in itself was the Sprout Tower, with an immobile pillar as before, except everything apparently is red now. I walked north for what felt like forever. Eventually I finally encountered some genetic men and women NPC. They were all lined up to the side by side, facing a long slantish pillar in the middle. They were also white. Nothing happens when I tried to speak to them. I just kept going north. Until eventually the pillar finally appears chopped off with a transparent red in that spot. I went up to red, and without even pressing A, I was suddenly engaged, and finally in a battle. The music starts, which sounds like the Unknown's radio music again, but played backwards. Gold's battle back sprite matches his front. Gold's battle back sprite matches his front one with the bloody eyes, white skin, and lack of arms, while red sprite was as the same as before in the GSC. I forgot what that stands for, except transparent. The text simply said wants to battle, as if he has no name, and both of us only have one Pokemon each, which is weird, as I swore I had 6 unknowns. My shiny Celebi came out conveniently with half a sprite for the back sprite also. I'm sorry, I'm tripping on these words right now. The shiny noise and animation was different, as the sounds it made sounds like multiple screech attacks used conservatively. Red sent out a seemingly normal male Pikachu, except he is level 255, and his sprite seems sad and has tears in his eyes. Rather than the usual fight/item/Pokemon/run menu, I was given the option to use the attacks. Since Celebi only has one, I chose it. Naturally, since Pikachu was level 255, he went first. Pikachu used Curse, lowering his speed and increasing his stats. I'm not even sure if Pikachu could use Curse. Celebi used Parish Song. In 3 turns, both Pikachu got KO'd. Both Pokemon, got KO'd. Not like I had a choice. At this point, it didn't even go back to the fight menu as the battle just continued without me. Also, note there were no animations at all for the same reason. Pikachu used Flail, which didn't do much damage despite his level and boost, and his health was maxed. Celebi used Parish Song. Nothing happened as it was already used. Pikachu used Frustration, which did a shit ton of damage, knocking Celebi down to less than 10 HP. Celebi used Pain Split, which surprised me. Celebi didn't even have that attack in the first place. Now Celebi and Pikachu have about 150 HP. Pikachu used Mean Look. Not like that did anything. It's true. As expected, due to the events of Parish Song, my Celebi fainted, except in the text it said Celebi has died. And instead of the ordinary drop of the screen animation, the Celebi back sprite just vanished. For some reason, the Pikachu was still up with Parish Song, and it didn't count as my loss. The toilet just flushed itself. Oh god, that's scary. Okay, let me get back to the topic. Pikachu used one more different attack. Beyond the 5 attack limit, Pikachu used Destiny Bond. Afterwards, it said Pikachu has died, with a slow fade-out animation. Apparently, I was the winner, and as the transparent red showed up and said, nothing. At the point, I just freaked out, as this transparent red sprite was suddenly beheaded, leaving nothing but his transparent body. The battle then ended at the point and faded along with the music. I'm back in the overworld with another change to the gold sprite. He's now as transparent as Red's overworld sprite. I quickly checked Gold's profile, where this time the only thing remains of him is his head, with a transparent skin. Then the head was zoomed in a bit, showing a black void in his eyes. It now started that now stated that he has 40 badges. I then backed up and out and checked my Pokemon. They were all level 20 shiny unknown, which then spelled out no more. I was at what I know is next to the end. There was apparently no music playing, but for some reason I felt like something was there that could be heard. I was back in my room in the new Bark town. Maybe finally I could get to this gameplay properly, but who am I kidding? I knew that sadistic fuck must have done something. I walked around to my room to interact with things, as I'm a bit afraid to go downstairs to see what was awaiting there. Note, I walked while as the background was moving. Gold was not moving his transparent limbs at all, while doing so just floating like those ghosts you see in Diamond and Pearl. As expected, the radio, computer, and TV did not work, so I had no choice but to go down the stairs. I ended up in the same lower level room of my house. Everything appears normal, except Mom isn't home. After failing to interact with anything in the room, I decided to go outside. To my surprise, the door letting me outside at the south didn't work, and instead I just walked straight through it to avoid. I continued moving south to see what the fuck was going on. My house vanishes as I head south to the void. It was creepy as when I entered the void, the outline on Gold's transparent sprite turned white to contrast with the pitch black. Eventually I reached a wide area of Gold's sprite, turned black and transparent again. I continued south without thinking of stopping at all. After a long trek south, I finally encountered something. It was Gold's regular sprite. I talked to it and he said goodbye forever and vanished. As that happened, it said question mark used nightmare, which at the point I would not deny that being possible. Gold did another escape rope animation, spinning slowly downwards like before. I'm now back into the small hollowed out room, surrounded by graves earlier. Or at least I say I was back there, as there's no sprite anymore. I tried to walk around, but nothing moved, not even a wall bumping noise. I checked my current profile with absolutely no Gold sprite left. It said I have 0 badges, and all the picture of the Johto gym leaders at the bottom were replaced with skulls. I checked my Pokemon, which were at level 25, unknown as expected. It spelled out a phrase that I dared to read. I'm dead. As soon as I went back to the overworld, the room I supposedly was in was then covered with the same blocks as the walls. I then figured out what exactly the room was. When the final text was said, "Rest in peace," that room was a big grave surrounded by other graves. Gold has already been dead. He died presumably a few years after he defeated Red. He was a young trainer who, despite his efforts in collecting so many badges and attempting to be a Pokemon master, was still unable to avoid the inedible fate of death, and his efforts were eventually forgotten by the next generation. He was unable to escape from that text no matter what I pressed. I tried resetting the game, and the same thing happened, at which I finally decided to give up the horrible nightmare. After the experience, I will never look at the gimmick unknown the same way again. They said that only the first generation have folk tales and legends, but the second generation have shown me how unpleasant the truth can be. I eventually enjoyed Soul Silver immensely, but I can't unthink what that rigged game has told me. Well, that kind of scared me, and it kind of made me a bit depressed, considering that Soul Silver was actually my favorite Pokemon game, and Gold was actually my favorite character. And so, thinking about this, it just made me kind of depressed, and it was pretty scary to me. Like, and at the beginning where, like, she started singing those ones and stuff, I would have turned it off, thrown it out, and I would have been done. I wouldn't have kept playing. It just shows you how idiotic these creepypasta characters are. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this creepypasta. It sure scared me. But tell me if it scared you or not. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this episode, and give me some feedback about it. And that's all I gotta say. Thanks for watching.